At this point, Mudahar has almost completely lost all relevance. It took a while, but finally we are here. Most people now see him for what he truly is, and that is a low information offense sitter that really likes to tell other people that you are wrong for some reason, but never really committing himself to any real positions or anything tangible that people can really comment about him. And people are tired of it. Honestly, I personally don't understand how this guy even got relevant in the first place, considering technically he's a giant YouTuber with multiple millions of subscribers and whatnot. But now everyone is slowly turning on him because I don't know. People liked him in the first place because he's kind of relatable. I don't really understand what's relatable about this guy, but whatever. And now, as time passes, it's just getting worse and worse for Mudahar. Every friend that he seemingly has on the internet gets somehow exposed for being a horrible person, and Mudahar's take is pretty much always the same. Well, I did not know that all of my friends are bad, and somehow all of his friends are turning out to be bad people. Which is, I think, very honestly telling.
It's me, Mudahar, and today we've got a bit of a wild day, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm sure you've heard of the name Carl Jobst. He's a pretty popular YouTuber, that covers speedrunning mishaps on the internet. You probably also know Carl from a massive lawsuit involving him against Billy Mitchell. Now, if
Yes.
you don't know the name Billy Mitchell, well, then welcome to the world of video gaming high records. Billy Mitchell is formerly, or at least
Now, I know it's technically a little bit late to cover this, but I forgot that Murahar even exists. I'm not gonna lie. He has just become that irrelevant for the most part.
currently known as the King of Kong. If you don't know King Kong, Donkey Kong was a super old arcade game. Billy Mitchell once, had a super duper high score on it. I believe still does. And generally through it, it became a massive point of contention from a lot of
You know he doesn't like this guy just from the way that he phrases things. He once had a really high score. Yeah, that's kind of just under characterizing him. And then he's like, he maybe still has it. Who knows? Easy to tell on which side he is.
the speedrunning community, people like Carl Jobst, plenty of other speedrunning YouTubers decided to take a little bit of a new look at this man's Donkey Kong record and basically said that, it probably involved some undue play, if you will. And for a long time, this started a lawsuit that involved YouTubers and Billy Mitchell. And Billy Mitchell was already this polarizing figure. A lot of us really wanted to see Billy Mitchell absolutely fail because we really didn't think his records were legit. Well, yesterday in Australian court, Carl Jobst is the one that actually lost this case. And,
Okay, so far, Mudahar is completely mischaracterizing everything that's happening here, and there are two options. One, he's trying to make Carl look out better because, he associates himself with that person a lot, so it's bad for him if he falls. Or two, which is equally likely, is that Mudahar being a low intelligence guy, it hasn't actually done any research. The moment this lawsuit came out and we knew that Carl lost, everyone, including myself, was wait, what? Oh, you know why? Because turns out Carl completely gaslighted everyone with like 20 plus goddamn videos, or however many he made. I don't know, but a lot of videos where he claims this lawsuit was all about the cheating. Oh, it's the cheating, Billy Mitchell. No, it's not. It's about what Coddle said about Billy, that he's responsible for one guy self-deleting, and there is literally no evidence to that. In fact, there's more evidence against that.
normally I would have a little bit of a, laugh about this kind of stuff just as a coping mechanism, but here it's just a somber reminder that when you do unchecked statements, sometimes it can really come back and bite you right on the ass. So to give you gamers an idea, literally a couple days ago, I saw that Carl posted, "The court has decided to stream my decision live on YouTube. So you can watch me win or lose in real time." So they
Wait, so he knows what this is about? Is he gonna even mention the fact that Coddle just blatantly lied to because 99% of the people, I'm making this number up, but pretty much almost everyone who knew about this did not know what the court case is actually about, because Coddle just completely misled everyone.
Provided a YouTube link to Mitchell v. Jobst 2025 QDC 41 defamation judgment. Now, immediately when you go to this link right over here, this is a brand new account made by, the courts of Queensland, and they actually just removed this video entirely after the judgment was presented. But you can actually pick up a original clip of this, 24-minute supercut of the actual defamation case playing out, right? So again, it's kind of insane. You can watch it for yourself.
Has caused Mr. Mitchell additional personal harm and additional harm to his reputation. It was severely aggravating conduct that merits an award of aggravated damages. Again, I will come shortly to the amount of aggravated damages that I will award. I was asked by each party to make adverse findings about the truthfulness of the other party's witnesses and the reliability or otherwise of their evidence. In my full reasons, I have given detailed consideration to those submissions. I don't propose to reprise that discussion and my conclusions now. Having made these findings, I consider that Mr. Mitchell is entitled to an award of damages against Mr. Jobst.
So that's just...
Wait! He's not... The big one there is the judge himself saying, I am not here to oversee or anything about the cheating allegation. I am here to determine did Billy Mitchell get his reputation damaged by the allegations that Apollo Legends self-deleted him because of his actions as stated by Coddle. And he's not even gonna show it? That is wild. Is this just a complete propaganda piece where Mudahar is gonna pretend that Coddle is right?
Just all you kind of need to hear if you wanted the TLDR of who won, okay? So obviously, this was pretty aggravated according to the actual ruling in this case. And so I pulled up the actual PDF, the actual court ruling itself, which is over 100 pages, but I'll read through most of the relevant sections for you. So inside here, the actual damages for non-economic loss is the sum of 300,000 Australian dollars, plus interest of 34,668.50 cents, interest upon delivering of this judgment or by filing and serving a written submission within 14 days, for aggravated damages in the sum of 50,000 plus interest of $5,778.08. So
I like how he does these things and he's pretending he's smart. Oh, it's 100 pages, but I'll read you the most important part of it, and it's literally page fucking 1, literally the first sentence, effectively. I love how Mudahar tries to be smart by doing this.
It's to around, I believe, 380,000 Australian dollars, which, if you convert it to American dollars, for most of my audience watching, is $237,000, a little bit above that, I believe, or around that exact amount. So that is a lot of cash, obviously. That is a considerable amount of money. And I believe on top of that, you would also have to think of legal fees and whatnot as well, too. So I don't believe it just stops there. Now, if you're wondering, does Carl have a way out through this? Well, obviously, in a lot of cases, you can obviously appeal a judgment, but I am not necessarily...
Good luck with that.
...an expert at Australian law, nor am I an expert at any real law. But again, this is going to be something that Carl would have to...
This is the guy, by the way, who at one point tried to present himself because he was going into the YouTube law direction. If you don't know what that is where people talk about contradicting court cases and interesting court cases and things like that. And I laughed when he did that so much. Because he was going through a court case and he was like, okay, boys, this is what's happening. And then he tries to explain what's happening, but this guy literally doesn't know the most basic jargons, law jargons, and things like that. Like, he reads, the court denies X with prejudice, and he's like, "Oh, prejudice! Wow, the court really didn't want that." But prejudice means you can't sue again for the same thing in most situations. That's what it means, and he's like, "Oh my god, with prejudice! Damn, that court really didn't like him." Oh. Like, he doesn't even know basic terminology for court stuff, and he wanted to go into YouTube lost scene. Again, this guy's a complete hack.
To consider.
He pretty much only knows how to fix printers, in my opinion. Like, that's it.
If he appeals, is he going to get in or out of this just fine? Let's look at what cost Carl over $200,000 US dollars. What was the actual defamation being said? So on point 15, 26th May 2021, Mr. Jobst published a YouTube video entitled "The Biggest Conman in Video Game History Strikes Again." In some detail, he accused Mr. Mitchell of cheating and of pursuing unmerited litigation against people who accused him of cheating. He also said the following about Mr. Mitchell. So this actually involves another YouTuber known as Apollo Legend. So for anybody that has no idea about Apollo Legend, he was a YouTuber that, you know, a few years ago at this point had actually taken their own life, okay? Now, obviously, this is a pretty traumatic experience. This is a pretty traumatic situation for not just the community, but also the family of Apollo Legend. So, you know, at this moment in time, you know, Billy Mitchell was kind of unfortunately involved into this case because of a statement that Carl had made, right? So inside Carl's video that was pointed out in the lawsuit, the biggest con men in video game history strikes again at around 16 minutes. Listen to this real quickly.
He also sued YouTuber Apollo Legend for $1 million. I haven't spoken about this publicly, but this lawsuit ultimately ended with Apollo giving in and settling with Mitchell. The lawsuit against Apollo was just as...
You catch that? I actually, you know, put the cursor over the actual statement right there. But to give you an idea, Carl had, or that section of the video, it actually...
So again, I don't know if this guy's just stupid and didn't research anything, but I'll give you the gist of this if you don't really know what's happening, okay? Apollo Legends had some kind of disease, incurable disease. What's the name for that? Terminal? Some kind of, well, terminal means you're gonna die. He was not gonna die from the disease, but that disease had no cure and was making his life a living hell. And he was on record saying that he is going to end it at some point because it's getting worse, or something along those lines. But it was pretty much dead. And then Coddle decided to blame Billy Mitchell for it. The whole thing, by the way, he blatantly said that it's Billy Mitchell's fault that Apollo decided to Minecraft himself, which is a lot. That was like a note, a statement or something like that from Apollo after he did it, but he doesn't even mention Billy. And Coddle was like, I fucking know it was Billy's fault. He did that. And that's why Billy sued him. And how bad all of this is, well, if you're a Coddle Jobst stan and fanboy, you're probably already in the comment section writing your shitty little fucking comment about Coddle actually retracted it. Stop mentioning. Yeah, Coddle retracted it after like 3 or how many months in a completely unrelated video about nothing covering the subject in a 40 or however long minute video at the very end in 5 seconds. Shut the fuck up. Okay, that was his retraction. That's not a great retraction. And that's it, okay? So stop pretending Coddle did not completely F up here.
Actually been removed.
And one of the funniest things about Coddle's defense was, at one point, he tried to cite Reddit as proof in the court case, by the way. He said, well, because Billy accused him of saying that he has proof of something. I don't remember the context, but Coddle said, Coddle literally said, I'm trying to remember what he said as close as possible, but it's effectively like this. Well, I saw a Reddit post that said something similar to what I said. And that was proof. We live in an age where Reddit is proof, boys.
And the defense for Billy, or sorry, Billy's lawyers, actually provided the entire transcript of what the actual defamatory claim was. So let's read it together. He also sued YouTuber Apollo Legend for $1 million. I haven't spoken about this publicly, but this lawsuit ultimately ended with Apollo giving in and settling with Billy Mitchell. He was forced to remove all his videos about Mitchell's cheating and paid
Apollo Legends didn't have to pay anything, by the way. He just had to delete the videos and stop talking about it.
him a large sum of money. This left him deeply in debt, which required him to find extra work. But with his ongoing health issues, this was all too much of a burden, and he ultimately took his own life. Not that Mitchell would ever care, though. In fact, when Mitchell thought Apollo died earlier, he expressed joy at the thought. The lawsuit against Apollo was just as frivolous as the rest. And
Yeah, I mean, Apollo Legends slandered him, and yeah, I mean, he was not happy about him dying. True, brutal, but I mean, true.
Apollo definitely would have won in court. But again, he was extremely ill and couldn't handle the ongoing stress.
And again, I don't know how Mudahar is framing this, but this is literally what Coddle Jobst just claims, which is completely claimless.
So,
And again, everything that we have and we know goes against this claim.
this paragraph right here, if you look at it real carefully, it can be argued, and it was argued by Mitchell's lawyers, that it serves as him putting the blame of Apollo Legends, death or his taking of his
Very blatantly, yes.
own life in this situation onto the stress caused by the litigation instigated by Billy Mitchell. Now, this entire lawsuit, is kind of a bombshell for me because I was wondering the whole time, like, it's probably got to do with all the cheating stuff, right? This is not stuff that I really was privy to. Everything about this section of the lawsuit kind of feels new to me, right? Because when I read a statement like that, unfortunately, I really can't see the defamation made, against Billy Mitchell. I can see why. There's a big difference between cheating a record at, playing King Kong and then being fingered for, the cause of death of one individual.
God, he's so fucking trash at explaining this stuff.
Right? Like, obviously, the second part of that, the second, statement is absolutely damaging to somebody's reputation. And it really seems like, according to the court, they actually were able to point out how damaging this was in terms of monetary damages and reputational damages.
And the thing is, obviously, if you were following this at all and you knew anything about like the Apollo Legends story, obviously this video is from his final note to the world, where, again, I am sure that the lawyers for Billy Mitchell have brought this up, but it's evident that obviously Billy Mitchell really wasn't a contributing factor to this man's, a man taking his own life.
So at some point, Keemstar gets involved into this case too, so let's read this section. On 4 June 2021, Mr. Keem contacted Mr. Jobst by Twitter saying, "Hey, gotta speak to you about Apollo and Billy Mitchell stuff," and asking for his telephone number. Mr. Jobst told the court that he provided the number, and Mr. Keem then called him, telling him that Mr. Mitchell was unhappy about the assertion that Apollo Legend had paid him money in settlement because it was not true. Mr. Jobst told Keem that he would remove part of the video and investigate further by contacting Apollo Legend's brother to check if it was correct. So, having received the telephone call with Mr. Keem, Jobst altered the video on 4
Again, that's so bull.
June 2021 to remove the following words right over here. I haven't spoken about this publicly, but the lawsuit ultimately ended with Apollo giving in and settling with Billy Mitchell. So this section that was removed from the video is transcripted here. Having done so, he sent a message to Keem saying, "I've edited out that section, will take a few hours. This is based on your word. I will be confirming from his brother also. If his brother backs up this or Mitchell provides any concrete evidence I was wrong, I will make a statement about it. If I have nothing concrete, I'll just leave the video as edited out and won't mention it anywhere." Apparently, he also removed the part of the video where he saw Mr. Mitchell's response video. When he saw it later that day, in response, Jobst posted a tweet in which he said, Billy Mitchell's Twitter handle claims he will sue me for saying Apollo Legend paid him money. I removed that portion from my video, not because it's wrong, but because this isn't the issue I want to go over to court with. I'd rather he sue me over his fake Donkey Kong scores. Which again is what I kind of really thought this whole lawsuit.
Which everyone thought. Because he made it look like that. There's literally video after video after video where he's making it seem that it's just about cheating.
Should have been about. But realistically, it seems like the statement that Carl made was like the ultimate silver fucking bullet against him in the court of law. Now, again, based on how this lawsuit played out, right? Like, obviously, we're not even talking about the fact that Billy was, you know, cheating at a game of Donkey Kong. That wasn't really even in the question. Realistically, it seems like when it came to this defamation lawsuit, shifting the focus of attention away from that to, again, this Apollo Legends statement was pretty much all Billy's lawyers needed to guarantee the win on his.
I love how at no point he's actually calling out Coddle for being trash, for misleading everyone. He's just like, oh, I guess everything's fine here. Oh, I did not notice. Well, I guess all of this is normal. He's not gonna say anything bad about Coddle, is he?
Part, which again, you know, Carl, I've always known to be a pretty good guy. I've investigated with him. He's a pretty thorough, diligent, and
yeah. Every single person I know is also not a murderer until the point that they become a murderer. Interesting how these things happen, huh?
Individual. This is just obviously one of those blunders where it's
the argument of, oh, but this person has not done anything like that before is the worst argument ever. Again, no one becomes a murderer until they become a murderer.
It's like, you're looking at it from the sidelines. I just, again, it's a somber realization that anything you say on the internet, especially when it's in a high-profile investigation, you should always be 1,000,000% careful for. But I'll get to a lot of that later towards the end of the video, because I have my own...
Bro, you shouldn't be careful, okay? You shouldn't just make the wildest allegation that someone's responsible for someone else deleting themselves, okay? That's kind of wild.
Insight regarding a different matter that I worked on with Carl.
Billy Mitchell is referring to the YouTuber Apollo Legend, who tragically took his own life in December of 2020. I won't go into specifics about this particular point because it does relate to his ongoing lawsuit against me. But again, everything he just said is a lie. I didn't say what he claims that I said, and my source for what I did say was not just a deleted post on Reddit.
This is a clip that I...
Which we now, by the way, I did not know about that one, which we, by the way, now know is true. It was literally just a source deleted off of Reddit. That is exactly what I'm talking about, because again, that's one of the hilarious things. Oh, because Coddle's like, yeah, well, I said that because I had a source, and it was a Reddit comment that said something similar? How stupid do you need to be?
I just showed you from 19th August 2023, so it's a while back.
And again, he's not gonna mention anything. He's gonna be like, oh well, he's gonna keep doing this passive defense. This is called passive defense. Thank you for whoever it was that reminded me of this term a year ago. But yeah, when you are covering something like this, and you are kind of being more bad against Billy Mitchell, and when Coddle does something bad and you mention it, and you don't mention anything bad about his actions, and just kind of are at best allowing your audience to understand by yourself, you're passive defending him, because you are not contributing any blame. Okay, so far, how much blame has Mudahar said on that is on Coddle about this situation? Nothing. He doesn't mention the gaslighting. He doesn't mention anything. He doesn't even show the best parts of the judge saying what this is all about, even.
And this clip was actually referenced to by Carl, again, when he was talking about, again, the aftermath of this case. So there's a lot of lies being spread that I falsely claimed Billy sued me because I said he cheated. I never claimed this. I only claimed it was irrelevant as part of my defense. I didn't openly discuss...
He said this, and people provided so many fucking... There's literal video evidence in multiple videos where he is 1-for-1 claiming that this is why he's being sued, for cheating allegations. And people posted so many videos about clips of his videos where he says that.
Certain details for obvious reasons, but I was never trying to hide why I was being sued. So the reason for this actual...
Again, he's not going to call him out on lying about this.
This claim comes out is, now that Carl has lost and this statement has come out, there's a lot of people...
Also, by the way, there's no way Mudahar mentions this, but the judge literally commented on Carl being a self-righteous prick, effectively. Now, that's my interpretation of his words, but that's pretty much it. The judge was pretty unhappy how Carl is just non-stop self-confident about things that he is blatantly already wrong about.
People that are, rightfully a little confused that, whoa.
Turns out, I know this is gonna shock some of you. Be prepared to be shocked. I hope that you're sitting down. But yeah, people who only talk about gaming aren't fucking smart. Holy shit, wow, I know. Maybe the world was not ready for my hot take.
Oh, why are we bringing up Apollo Legend and litigating who's responsible for him taking his own life? Well, it's because I would say, just from a viewer perspective, I really did think this whole case was about just cheating. I actually did have a chance to speak to Carl's defense. They were actually putting me as a relevant witness. I actually didn't get into his case at all.
Why?
And it really did feel like they were talking about Billy Mitchell's cheating for a video game. That's literally all I was pretty much asked for. This kind of felt like a bit of a bombshell for me, but looking at the clip that Carl posted, yeah, it's clear that he mentioned that Apollo Legend was a part of this lawsuit. But I feel like there probably should have been more.
Yeah, there's such a pussy way to handle this status. It's insane.
More transparency, which obviously even Carl agrees. But the criticism that I should have been more transparent is valid, and I'm sorry. Truthfully, I don't want to repeat or mention any claims regarding Apollo Legend because it may have jeopardized my defense. And now it makes more sense, right? Like, obviously, when you're getting sued for defamation.
Wait, what is this? He's now showing this statement? He's not going to show any of he's not going to show any of his tweets, but he's like, well, the judge is a fucking idiot for thinking I was wrong. Well, he didn't say that, but that's again, everything effectively sounds that this guy is just an extremely self-centered asshole who thinks he is always right. The first thing he tweeted after losing was, well, the judge bought Billy's story, so there was nothing I could do. It's almost like insinuating the judge is like corrupt or something. Almost.
And now it makes
don't sue me, Coddle. Yeah. No, don't worry about that.
Makes more sense, right? Like, obviously, when you're getting sued for defamation, the best thing your lawyers can say is, shut the fuck up. Wait for everything to be finished. As somebody who is, I guess, putting my foot into the door of litigation as a plaintiff regarding defamation, I am literally just going to say that. That's pretty much all I have to say. Everything just goes through lawyers. Because if you feel like you have a case, like Billy Mitchell believed he had a case, like Carl believed he had a case, you gotta be quiet. Unfortunately, in Carl's, situation, he wasn't necessarily super duper quiet, and he also was, I would say, decently antagonistic against Billy Mitchell throughout this entire.
Decently, I think this is going to be the highest attribution of Connell's fault we're going to have from this dude right here. Wild.
Process, which obviously I would imagine any court would look at and say, probably not a good idea, right? Probably not the best of ideas to go in gung-ho. But that's just how this whole situation kind of ends. So obviously some people started to look at the amount of money that Carl had raised in his defense fund, which was around 200,000 Australian dollars. And it's pretty reasonable, obviously, if you're following this, that Carl most definitely used this money in order for his defense lawsuit. In fact, looking through it, he basically mentions that, yeah, my name is Carl, I'm a YouTuber, often reports on video game cheaters. Last year, Billy Mitchell, star of King of Kong, proven video game cheater, sued me for defamation, claiming damages of $450,000. So these lawsuits are unhinged, and it's highly likely Billy will ultimately lose. Hurts to read that, but until we go to trial, it requires a lot of money to deal with. I would appreciate any help that you are able to provide. Naturally, the more money I'm able to raise, the better my legal defense will be, but that's just the way it works. If and when I defeat Mitchell in court, he will likely have to pay back a lot of the costs that I have incurred. So August 19, 2023, Carl says, hey, you absolute legends. Thank you so much for the support you've given so far. Mitchell ended up backing out of the second lawsuit, which means all funds will go towards helping with the existing lawsuit and to deal with the inevitable future threats. I'm hoping to...
Wait, he's even lying about backing out because Billy never actually sued him for that. It was just a thing that he could have done and said... I don't know this fully, so I could be wrong, but there was no second lawsuit. He didn't back out of anything because he didn't actually sue anyone as far as I understand. And if you don't sue anyone, you can't back out of a lawsuit because there is no lawsuit. So there's no backing out.
To get the trial done within the next few months, so fingers crossed it'll all be wrapped up soon. I think people can kind of reasonably say that maybe there wasn't enough transparency, and again, even Carl.
Hey, you stupid fucking viewer. Maybe just you absolute mouth breathers can maybe assume that there was not enough transparency. Okay? Yeah, I thought so. God damn. He just loves so much pretending that he's better than everyone. It is insane. It is absolutely insane.
Wouldn't be so, again, saying that things could have been a lot more transparent. But I really do believe that obviously Carl, wasn't going to talk about the Apollo Legend stuff simply due to the fact that it was definitely a thing that put him into the hot water. And obviously,
okay, he actually did something that's almost a defense. I think a lot of coddle simps are actually going to talk about this. Or they already talked about it. I'm not sure. I didn't pay attention afterwards. I'm just waiting for Coddle's now video to talk about this because that would be funny. It's happening, by the way, at some point. It has to happen, right? It's the easiest way to make money when he owes Billy money now. 10 out of 10. But yeah. So that's a horrible fucking point. Let's listen to it again, by the way.
Obviously, Carl, wasn't going to talk about the Apollo Legend stuff simply due to the fact that it was definitely a thing that put him into the hot water. And
yeah, so this is a thing Coddle Jobst stands also are bringing up. Well, of course he's not going to talk about the Apollo stuff because that's part of the lawsuit and he doesn't want to give away strategies, which is a thing that Coddle himself said that he did not talk about it because he doesn't want to give away his shit. Well, everyone thought that he's talking about the cheating, and he was only talking about the cheating. He never mentioned that. And again, it seems so disingenuous, doesn't it, when he's yapping about cheating allegations and making this whole thing look like it's about cheating. And then it turns out it's about this, and he's using the excuse, well, I didn't want to give up my strategy. It sounds like pure bull, doesn't it?
And obviously, restating a defamatory claim is not something you want to be doing in the process of any form of litigation.
Now, I think from a viewer perspective, what's really just the most shocking part about all this as I'm watching it is that this was about the Apollo Legend claim versus, again, the claim of...
Oh, is there a chance? Because at least old Mudahar, from what I have seen from him, a year or 2 years ago, he sometimes did the Act Man spiel, but he makes a video that you think is about X. It's not about X, but in the last 1 minute, he actually gives a real opinion about something.
Cheating, which is mostly what I thought this lawsuit was effectively about. Realistically, looking at everything that I've read, yeah, cheating might have been a part of it, but generally speaking, Billy Mitchell won on the Apollo Legend stuff. And I wish this was definitely far more transparent to the audience. I feel like a lot of the support that went towards the direction of Carl was relegated simply because he was challenging this man's credibility when it came to video game records, right? Which I believe Carl and plenty of other creators have done a pretty reasonably good job of actually, pointing out. But obviously, if the claim is, you're putting a man in the responsibility, or you're sort of burdening them with the responsibility of the death of an...
Bro, these sentences, I can't. It's just, Mudahar is so pathetic. Let's read comments. Okay, because these should be fucking good. Oh, wow, the court really thought Billy didn't cheat at Donkey Kong, huh? The court finds Mitchell not responsible for blah, blah, blah. Hold on, what? Yeah, obviously. There's a reason why lawyers tell you shut the fuck up, Drew. You either die an absolute legend or you live long enough to lose in court to Billy Mitchell. This was a comment I was also getting. Peak, by the way. I knew Coddle was a speedrunner, but sabotage a decade of build-up a public trust percent was not on my radar. That's a good one. Me. initially hearing that Billy won, how would this happen? Me, after finding out the case was about accusing of causing suicide and not Donkey Kong cheating. Coddle, what the fuck? Yeah, exactly. Coddle completely misrepresented what the lawsuit was about. I've watched every single one of his videos regarding the situation with Billy Mitchell, and I would have never thought it was about Apollo Legends. I'm looking into the proceedings. Coddle deserved to lose that lawsuit. I am not sympathizing with Billy whatsoever, but some of these claims are outrageous. It really is. And the fact is, Billy Mitchell now looks like a good guy. There were legit things that you could say bad about Billy Mitchell, but now because Coddle's inflated ego, no one can no longer do any of that, which is fucking wild. Accusing someone of causing the death of another person is significantly worse than cheating in a video game. True. Read more. Edit. Not gonna read edit. Coddle did the impossible. He managed to make himself the villain in a story with Billy Mitchell. Good comment. I want to formally congratulate Billy Mitchell finally winning something legal in his life. Okay, I'm gonna share with you a good comment that I had about this, by the way. And it was, how do you make a retard like Billy Mitchell win a court case? Well, you put a bigger retard against him, aka Carl Jobst. 10 out of 10, boys. Anyway, that was Mudahar. Bye-bye.